Imagine this. It is the summer of 1940, and fresh from the Axis victory over France, Italy's fascist leader Benito Mussolini wants to impress Hitler with his mighty Italian military. Except that all the countries in Europe that were fighting the Axis have already been defeated by Germany, with only Great Britain barely holding on. So what can Mussolini do? If only Great Britain could be defeated by Italy first, it would show Germany and the world just how great Italy is. And Il Duce might be able to gain territories in Africa and the Middle East for the new great Italian empire. It's around this time that an Italian Air Force captain named Paolo Moci comes up with an absolutely crazy plan: the destruction of the oil refineries in Bahrain and Saudi Arabia by Italian bombers. He presents the plan to his superior, Lieutenant Colonel Ettore Muti, who also happens to be the party secretary of the National Fascist Party and a friend of Mussolini. Once Mussolini has shown the audacious plan, he is beside himself. This is the operation that will show the world just how great Italy really is. Except there's a small problem. The route to the target and to a safe landing at friendly territory are over 4,000 kilometers away, and the only available Italian heavy bombers at the time, the SM-82, only has a range of 2,100 kilometers. Could this bombing mission even be possible? Captain Moci believes it is possible, and Lieutenant Colonel Muti also believes it is possible, and they have volunteered to lead the bombers. So Mussolini orders Moci and Muti to make it happen. With his trusted party secretary leading the bombers, Mussolini is convinced of its success. The mission is on. But first, there's going to be a lot of planning needed, which will take months. 4 Italian SM-82 bombers will have to be specially fitted with additional fuel tanks in order to increase their range from 2,100 kilometers to over 4,000 kilometers. The modifications to the bombers are essential in order to make the extended flight distance over hostile territory. And the bombers will need to take off from the closest Italian airfield, which happens to be on the island of Rhodes, and preparations are needed to be made at the airfield as well. There is no room for error. The mission's flight plan will take the 4 bombers from their base at Rhodes, flying directly east over Cyprus, Lebanon, and Syria, before turning to the southeast and continuing over Jordan and Iraq. Finally, once the bombers reach the coastline of the Persian Gulf, they will turn south and fly directly to the target in Bahrain. But due to the limited fuel on board, the bombers will only be able to make one bombing run over the target area. The planes will then turn southwest and continue their flight across the Saudi Arabian desert to the town of Zula in Italian-controlled Eritrea. This mission will be over 15 hours long, flying over hostile terrain and enemy-controlled areas. Nothing like this has ever been done before. It is time for the mission. Lieutenant Colonel Ettore Muti and his comrades have spent the prior 4 days working on a complete revision of the plans and have established a new and more complex flight plan, but they are confident of the mission's success. And so, just after sunset at 5:10 p.m., after filling up both the normal and supplementary fuel tanks, as well as the heavy bomb payloads, the men and aircraft are ready for the mission. Leading the mission as pathfinders will be Lieutenant Colonel Muti, assisted by Major Giovanni Reina, and by Captain Paolo Moci himself, who had previous experience in flying planes overloaded up to 21 tons. This lead aircraft barely lifts off the ground and has difficulty gaining altitude with its approximate 19,500 kilograms of incendiary bombs plus extra fuel for the mission. It finally reaches cruising altitude of 6,000 meters at a speed of 270 kilometers per hour. The other 3 bombers follow close behind, with the men settling into what will be a very long nighttime mission with only maps and a compass to guide them. Nearly 3 hours after taking off, the bombers reach the coast of Lebanon. It is 8 p.m. and pitch black outside. Another 4.5 hours and they reach the coast of the Persian Gulf, turning due south towards Bahrain. At 2:20 a.m., just before reaching the Bahrain Islands, one of the bombers piloted by Lieutenant Colonel Federici suddenly loses sight contact with Muti's leading SM-82 bomber and struggles to maintain course. The plane, unable to tell where the oil refinery is, ends up dropping its bombs on different targets in the vicinity of the city of Manama. However, the mishap will cause great alarm and confusion to the citizens of Bahrain and the British, who now believe this to be a larger bombing attack. Muti's bomber then drops its load of incendiary bombs, hitting various oil wells and refinery plants. The illumination of these explosions provides easy targeting for the remaining 2 bombers to drop their payload. Bahrain has been bombed by Italian aircraft. Due to the short fuel supply, the bombers immediately turned southwest and continued to fly for another 6.5 hours over the desert of Saudi Arabia. They arrive and land safely at 8:40 a.m. at the Zula airstrip in Italian-controlled Eritrea. The world record-breaking bombing mission is over and all the bombers have landed safely. Mussolini's daring bombing mission would prove to be just a footnote in the annals of Italian military history during World War II. Italy's ill-fated invasion of Greece 2 months earlier in October would see tremendous setbacks, with the Greek army pushing the invaders all the way back into Albania and threatening the complete destruction of the Italian forces there. Only Hitler's intervention with the invasion of Yugoslavia to gain access to attack the Greek forces would save the Italians. The other disastrous Italian campaign in North Africa would also see Italy lose 130,000 men captured at the Battle of El Agila just 2 months later in February of 1941, with Hitler again having to intervene by sending Rommel and the Afrika Korps to rescue Italy. The bombing mission has been only a brief victory, and Mussolini's dream of grandeur and world domination would eventually end up like this. But that's for another story and another video. As always, thank you for watching. If you liked this video, leave a comment and hit the like button. I'll catch you on the next exciting video here on Geotactics. Thanks again.